The father of fascism, Il Duce, known as Benito Mussolini, has one of the most astonishing stories in human history. How did he rise to the top, and what was his story? What did he try to achieve? Mussolini was born on the 29th of July, 1883, in Dovia di Predappio. His father, Alessandro Mussolini, was a blacksmith and a socialist, married to a devout Catholic, Rosa Maltoni. Mussolini was a rebellious and violent kid growing up. When he was exposed to socialism at the age of 10 to 12, he could explain basic socialist ideas to others, having been influenced by his father. When he was 19, he moved to Switzerland to avoid military service and to look for a job. However, while in Switzerland, he quickly became involved with Italian socialists, studied Marxism, and became a strong, committed socialist. He was arrested several times, mainly for political agitation, and was deported many times, but he kept coming back. Many considered him a troublemaker. In 1904, he returned to Italy to join the Italian army. He served for 18 months. He was discharged in September 1906. After his military services, his violent tendencies evolved from street brawls and socialist agitation to organizing political violence. After the army, he worked as a schoolteacher for a while, and then shifted entirely to a socialist journalist. He wrote against the democratic system, the middle class, and the church. In September 1911, Mussolini led a protest and gave fiery speeches against Italy's invasion of Libya. His outspoken opposition led to his arrest and 5-month imprisonment. After his release in 1912, Benito was appointed editor of the country's national socialist newspaper, Avanti. When World War I broke out in 1914, at first Mussolini was strongly opposed of Italy joining the war. He believed the war was a capitalist conflict driven by imperial powers fighting over colonies. As an editor of Avanti, he wrote anti-Watt editorial. Months later, he changed his mind. He now saw an opportunity to revolution. After that, he lost his job at Avanti, and then he started his own newspaper called Il Popolo d'Italia, or The People of Italy. In November 1914, he founded his own political party known as the Fascidazione Rivoluzionaria. In July 1915, Italy signed the Treaty of London, cementing its alliance with the Allies against Germany. The Italian army at that time was poorly trained and led by inexperienced officers. By the time the war was over, more than 650,000 soldiers were dead, and 500,000 were missing. Benito himself rejoined the army in September 1915, but returned home because of an injury caused by his mate's grenade explosion. He was badly wounded, requiring numerous operations, and then sent home to recuperate.
Mussolini's wartime experience taught him to embrace nationalism. He believed that violence was the tool of greatness, just as chaos is a ladder.
After the war, Italy was treated harshly by the Allies. The land that she was promised during the 1915 Treaty of London was not handed to her. The Prime Minister at that time walked out of the conference in disgust, and shortly thereafter, he was removed from office. In the following elections, Mussolini's fascist party failed to win a single seat. Over the next 3 years, the political situation in Italy was extremely unstable. The country was in a state of near anarchy, with rampant inflation and unemployment. The fascists wanted revolution. They dressed in their black shirts and caused problems on the road. On May 21st, 1921, the newly formed fascist movement, represented through the National Bloc, won 35 seats out of the total of 535 in the House of Parliament. Benito himself gained a seat in the Chamber of Deputies and became an official member of the Italian government. He quickly changed his principles to pro-church and pro-monarch. Mussolini renamed the party, now calling it the National Fascist Party. He gained popularity and became known as a man with the ability to rule and restore order to the chaos that Italy had fallen into.
And when the Blackshirts broke up a socialist-backed strike in October 1922, his PR was boosted, and he declared in a speech that either the government hand him power or he would seize it for himself. With no response from the government, he declared a stage coup by marching to the capital, Rome. On fear, the Prime Minister, Luigi Facta, offered Mussolini a position in his government in order to avoid a conflict. But this didn't stop the march, and the panicked Prime Minister urged the king to allow him to use the army to squash the coup. The army would have humbled the Blackshirts. They were no match. First, the king agreed, but quickly changed his mind out of fear of a civil war. which enraged the prime minister, who then resigned from office. When the marching party reached Rome, the king, who was secretly a fan of Mussolini, tried to calm them by offering Benito the job of becoming the prime minister. And at the age of 39, Benito Mussolini became prime minister of Italy. When Mussolini became prime minister, his government was a minority in the House of Parliament. This left him to work with the majority. This new situation didn't suit him. Within 8 weeks, he formed the Fascist Grand Council. The Grand Council was the bridge between the Fascist and the Chamber of Deputies. This lessened the power of Parliament. In 1923, the Grand Council passed a law that rigged the electoral system to ensure that the Fascists gained sizable seats in Parliament, which they did. They won 374 seats of the 535 seats. They also got help from the Blackshirts, who pressed the public to vote for the Fascists. After a major loss, the socialist leader Giacomo Matteotti openly denounced the Fascists and their leader. 11 days later, he was assassinated. This led to a massive protest against Mussolini and his friends, but Mussolini did his best to distance himself from the crimes. Many politicians withdrew from the parliament to force Mussolini's ejection from office, but the king refused to get rid of Mussolini. On January 2, 1925, vote of confidence, with only a few opponents who showed up, Mussolini took advantage to cement his authority. He then declared that only the fascists could provide stability in the country, and it could only be achieved through dictatorship. When Mussolini's propaganda was spread in every area of Italy, a cult of personality developed around him. People now considered him to be a genius man of action. He was a compelling speaker. He used facial expressions to compel his audience. He spent the next 2 years establishing his own regime. The 3 key messages were believe, obey, fight. His new messages gained major approval. Even many socialists now turned to fascism. In the following years, Italy was affected by the global depression following the Wall Street crash in October 1929. Once again, the country was in a state of economic crisis. In 1935, Italy invaded Ethiopia, resulting in a devastating occupation that ended in 1941. The Ethiopian Emperor, Haile Selassie, fled to Geneva to appeal to the League of Nations, delivering a powerful speech, "It is us today, it will be you tomorrow." The major powers, France and Britain, didn't want to intervene because they wanted Italy as an ally against Hitler. The League of Nations failed to stop the invasion, but they made weak sanctions on Italy, excluding vital resources such as oil, coal, and the Suez Canal was not closed to Italian ships, making the sanctions toothless, weak. However, this weak sanction made Mussolini feel betrayed by the Allies, which led to his alliance with Hitler. In 1936, Mussolini and Hitler signed the Rome-Berlin Axis, forming a political and military understanding. And in the 1936-39 Spanish Civil War, Hitler and Mussolini supported Francisco Franco, a fascist who ruled Spain through dictatorship. This joint military intervention brought the two regimes closer. On May 22, 1939, Italy and Germany signed the Pact of Steel. They agreed to support each other in war and diplomacy. Less than 4 months later, Germany invaded Poland to start the Second World War. When the Nazis defeated France on June 10, 1940, Mussolini declared war on Britain and France. He waited 1 year after signing the Pact of Steel to declare war. Did he wait to check if Hitler had the power to defeat the Allies? After witnessing how France quickly collapsed by blitzkrieg, he declared war on Britain and France. After that, he sent his army to attack British colonies in Africa, mainly Egypt. At the same time, he joined with the Nazi Luftwaffe in the Battle of Britain. The unprepared Italian army faced humiliation on every front. They were badly beaten in Egypt at the Battle of El Alamein, and the Allied invasion of Sicily was the final straw. It was a matter of time before a certain defeat. The country was in chaos. The people of Italy were furious, and they no longer wanted Mussolini. A massive march took place to Rome against Il Duce. The king, Victor Emmanuel, told his guards to arrest him and took him into custody. Pietro Badoglio became the new prime minister of Italy, and he wanted to break Italy's alliance with Germany and to side with the Allies. Yet, Mussolini's life didn't end there. When Hitler found out what had happened to Mussolini and Badoglio's plan regarding his side with the Allies, he ordered an invasion of Italy and a rescue mission for Il Duce, who was being held at a resort-turned-prison in the Gran Sasso Mountains. and was rescued. After his rescue, he was taken to Hitler's headquarters at the Wolfschanze. Mussolini, after prison, he was a different man. People described him as a shadow of his former self. He asked Hitler if he could be permitted to retire. This made Hitler more furious and made him his own puppet ruler in the Nazi territory in Italy. For the next 18 months, Mussolini ruled with control of the Nazis. He spent his 18 months with regret over the past decision. He later wrote that he was a corpse being dragged around by German troops. With Allies closing in, he decided on his last option. He tried to escape to Switzerland with his mistress on April 27, 1945, shortly after the Communists captured him near Lake Como. Both he and his mistress, Clara Perazzi, were executed by firing squad, and their bodies were taken to Milan and hung upside down in Piazzale Loreto. This was the story of Benito Mussolini. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe to our channels, and if you want to help us, you can join our membership or gifting with super thanks. Ciao!